I reminded you that you are perfect, would you argue me down or step into your perfection? Welcome to Perfect Mode, where there are no excuses, no expectations, and we explore the world without limitations. I'm Jay Clay, rapper and spiritual teacher, with my co-host Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. Let's be real, so let's be perfect.
Perfect mode.
Everything, anything, plenty things, perfect. Everything, anything, plenty things, perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty things, perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty things, perfect mode. Perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty things, perfect mode, perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty things, perfect mode.
Perfect.
What up? Welcome to Perfect Mode. And first off, let me start by telling y'all that we love y'all. We're grateful for the opportunity to be anywhere, sharing our thoughts, the way that we see life, hopefully helping you realize that you're perfect. And the reason why I can unapologetically say that is because I know that you are one of one. You cannot be duplicated, replicated. You are a unique form. And the only way that you would think that you're not perfect is if you're looking at somebody else and saying, guess what? I'm not like them, but guess what? You are you. And that's the only thing that matters. And of course, it's yours truly, Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. And I have my boy, Jay Clay, spiritual rapper and teacher. And we about to get on here and talk about remembering what works and then doing more of it. What up, Jay?
What's up? Happy Sunday. Happy Perfect Mode. Happy days to all the perfect people in perfect land, getting to be perfect. Yeah, happy day. And man, remembering what works. Like, that's one of those things where we all got good ideas, right? We all come up with things ideas that work, but then we forget about them. Like, we do it for a time. We say, all right, this week I'm gonna do this. You feel great for the week. You go on vacation to do something else. You come back, you forget about it. And why? You know what I mean? I want to get back to us remembering what actually works so we can keep doing it to help us use it to our benefit and to the benefit of everybody around us.
And to that point, sometimes a part of that is evolving out of what you thought. And it's not that you shouldn't go back to what you thought. It's just that you can't remember. You put something as a place marker, and then life has taken you on a journey, and now you're just doing something different. And it's not to say that what's new doesn't work, but you know what you set in place, that foundation, that concrete that you poured is there for a reason. So yeah, so Jay, I know we're gonna jump into this. Do you want to go ahead and jump into a video? Just kind of introduce what we're gonna do is we're gonna play back some of the things that we've said in the past on the show, and then we're going to see where we are with it, see if we still feel the same, and see if we can grow that as what we're talking about now.
Yeah, before we said, I want to start by saying this. Oh, shout out to Sarah. Appreciate you joining us.
What up, Sarah? What up?
And yeah, so we've been doing this now. This is the fourth year we've been doing this. And so with these clips, we wanted to show a clip from every year just to see, where we were energetically, to see, like you said, Troy, where we have evolved, and just see if, if we can take something new from it, if we still feel the same way we did, because to your point, sometimes things are just for that season, but other times it might benefit you for the rest of your life. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
So the first one we're going to jump into is scared to change plans. And the reason why I'm glad you chose this one is because it's kind of like hinging on what we're talking about. Like, part of the reason when you set a foundation, things evolve out of it is because you do change the plan. You do have the courage to change it, but that doesn't mean that it has to be complete polar opposite. It means that you could change the direction, but still use your foundation that you're stepping on. At least that's how I think of it now. But let's go ahead and get into the clip, and then we'll see what we said and how we feel. A lot of people get used to approaches that work in the past and tend not to look for approaches that will work better, which tend to look like a bad decision.
Yeah.
And a part of that too is deeming a decision bad. You know what I'm saying? Like the first thing is when you, and I know that me and you lived through this over and over again from the time when we were trying to send people emails. Like I'm gonna explain something, man. In our pursuit of success, me and Jay Clay, we came up with a billion different ideas for how to approach people, right? And simple enough, we would use an approach, and if we don't get a response within a certain amount of time, we would definitely create our next approach based off of that approach. This did not work, but not realizing that it just didn't work for the people that we sent it to, or we maybe didn't give it enough time. Yeah. So when you deem first of all a decision is bad, then you're cutting yourself out from an opportunity going forward. But hold on, but I'm just trying to make sure that I touch on a lot of people get used to the approaches that worked in the past and tend not to look for approaches that would work. So first, my point is just because it didn't work in the past doesn't mean that it won't work. But secondly, to your point, like a lot of times people will allow that to cripple them too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They feel like a failure because of that. And it's not, and that's part of the reason why they won't move forward, because they don't want to continue to have that feel anymore. Go ahead, Clay.
Yeah, and with that, I was thinking of an example the other day. I don't even know why my mind went here, and this might not be the best example, but y'all will feel me. Okay, so like imagine you are in a freezer, and your goal is to melt an ice cube. So you're in the freezer, you know, your goal is to melt an ice cube in the freezer. So you come up with a plan or whatever. You say, okay, every day I'm a warm up a little bit, you know. So you warm up the freezer by 1 degree. And let's say we're using what Celsius, what is it? 30 degrees is melting point, I think. Yeah. So like you got it up to 27. You're like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go at it tomorrow. I'm gonna make it go up a degree. So you're building these habits of how you go about. So then one day, bam, you reach that point some kind of way, and the ice is melted. So one, you don't know if what you did worked or the universe helped you. Like the power could have went out on the freezer, and it just so happened to melt the ice. But regardless, the ice is melted, but you're still living your life like you're trying to melt the ice. But you already did that. But you're stuck in that routine, and you're afraid to let that routine go because you're stuck in your way. And part of that is what I feel you were just saying, like don't be afraid to let go of what you've just done, because it was for that time, and it's being okay with what you're doing for right now, even though it might change the next right now.
Man, hold up. So first of all, I would start by saying that I was doing this the whole time. Like, okay, yeah, I mean, I feel you. And, you know, I guess just to touch on for myself, I'm glad I heard it. And the reason why is because even in my life today, there are things that I'm revisiting now. Like just from the point that I was making, there are things that I'm revisiting now. And I had to convince myself to go ahead and try them again because they did not work in the past. And the beautiful thing about it is that some of the things that I've tried now have been working. What I tried then that I'm trying now have been working now. And I thought that was really cool. And I didn't look at these clips prior to. So shout out to you, Jay. That was a good one. Go ahead. What you got?
Yeah. And the thing too is that I believe I was trying to say in it, or at least how I see it now, is we do work hard at times to overcome obstacles. And a lot of times we do, but we have that mindset. Like just for an example, let's say you want to get out of a poverty mindset and go into an abundance mindset. You've transcended that. You're there, but then you still continue to do the habits of a poverty mindset as an example. But this can be applied to many things, you know, like a health mindset, but you're doing things of a sick mindset. Like but you're there, but you won't let yourself be there. And since everything is mindset, it even makes me want to look at more things now. Like, what old mindsets am I still holding on to, even though I've stepped into the actions of someone that has these other mindsets of what I want?
I'm going to tell you something else that I peeled out of what you were saying too, as well. Like, to me, just the thought process of like not allowing not being aware of how the world works with you too, though. You know what I'm saying? Like when you were talking about, you know, you're consistently doing this step, and it's you. I mean, it's smart. Like, let me increase my temperature just a little bit every single day, right? But then one day the power potentially might go out, or anything could happen. But you don't understand, by you taking the action, the rest of the world does join in to help you do it. And then to the point that you were making, once it's been done, how can I elevate this to the next step instead of following? Like, because the thing is, if I can understand that whether it's me increasing my temperature or not, just knowing that it's done, now I can try something different and apply the same approach in a sense, but understand that the world is going to come with me is a real big deal. And I know a lot of times we feel like we're doing things on our own. And that's what makes it so strenuous and so hard. And man, I just thought it was dope. I thought that whole thing was dope. Go ahead, Jay.
I love that too, because it is a more accurate depiction of the world. Like you step out on this journey on faith. You really don't know if it's going to lead to anything, but you just take the steps. And then, like you said, people do see you taking these steps and they want to assist you. Now, you might not know exactly what works, but all you know is like, yeah, I know that if I do this every day, it's going to lead to this. And then it did. But then we still do this every day instead of making that new thing. Now, if we said doing this every day would take us to this thing and beyond, then in that case, we should keep doing the same actions we always taken. But if we're ready to make the next step, we should be ready to make the next step. And I will say in some instances, I have been guilty of that. Like I'll make it to that step and it's like, you know what? I just want to stay here right now. I want to just really feel this. And that's not a bad thing. And then after a while, it's like, okay, let's proceed.
Listen, I have the perfect example for me in your life that this applies to prior to us doing perfect mode. But again, just seeing it from we're sitting at now is just a whole different thing. So number one, I remember when we were saying, we gonna get on the radio. We gonna get on the radio. And we set a plan in place. And we did this plan. And the reality of it was we made it to radio. And then we kept doing the exact same plan, but we were expecting a different result. Like, and it's not like we said, okay, now that we got to radio, we're gonna add this to it. We can still do what we did to get to radio, but we're going to add this to make sure that we stay in rotation, or we're going to do this so that way we can get on a big, like, but what we did was we said, we're going to do this, which was the smart plan to get on the radio. And then we said, okay, now we're going to go perform with Jay-Z, right? But we kept doing the exact same thing over and over again. And it's funny how we work like that, because we allow a success of a plan to try to roll over into something else, but that's not necessarily how it works. But another point too is, like, I had a talk with one of my agents this week, right? And this is me being a real estate agent. And the key to something that you said was, when the world starts to see what you're doing, the world will literally jump on and help you get there, right? And so one of my agents that I was talking to, I asked him, I said, how do the people around you know that you are a real estate agent? How? And he said, because I told them, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, okay, cool. But do they see you doing real estate work? Do they see you taking these steps on a consistent basis to show them that it's not just somebody talking, but it's somebody doing? And it's not just a question that I asked to him, it's a question that I asked to myself over and over again. And the reason why it's been a prominent question is because I had people close to me in my life not use me as a realtor and then tell me after the fact that they didn't know. And in my mind, in the grand scheme of things, my mind was saying that I told everybody, but the reality of it was I wasn't showing the universe that I was doing it enough for people to be like, hey, well, let me use him. Hey, let me use him, because I didn't move that way. So we got to radio because we were moving a certain way. We didn't get to the big stage because we didn't move that way. And so in order for the universe to start to jump on board or ride your bandwagon and help you get to where you're going to, you have to actually be taking those steps in order to get there. Go ahead, Jay.
It's funny. I needed to hear that. Thank you, by the way, because I mean, as you know, as many probably watching too, because everybody's a content creator nowadays. Sometimes you get caught up in like, man, is this too repetitive? Like, like you just get caught up in it. Like, why am I doing this? But the truth is, you have something to give to the world, and two, everybody doesn't see it. Like, everybody is not on your feed every day looking at everything you do. I know sometimes that stops us from doing things because we feel like everybody's going to be watching us, but the algorithms don't show it to everybody, and we personally don't go in and start sharing it to everybody. We probably should, but that's another story. But I did need to hear that, because sometimes that the repetitiveness of it can get to me. Like, do people even care? Do this? But then you'll receive that help from something that someone you didn't know was watching, or an opportunity that you couldn't have possibly planned for or known it was available. And it just comes from you just, again, stepping out on faith and pursuing whatever direction you want to take in life.
But to me, this again brings up, it's funny. It's kind of like we don't give ourselves enough credit, but then we give ourselves more credit in some areas that we shouldn't, in a sense. And what I mean by that is that this goes to show that how much we think about ourselves. And the reason why I think about it this way is because, remember, we would make a song, right? And when we made the song, we would listen to that song so much, and then we were like, this song is old. And the reality of it is, nobody's heard the song. It's only old to us. And so when I say that we think about ourselves so much, is that we, first of all, if we use social media as the vehicle here, we're putting 2-second clips or 15-second clips or 1-minute clips of your life out in the public. And number one, people are tied to you because they want to see what you got going on anyway. But you would think that somebody would get burnt out by seeing a post that's like, they probably look at for 1 second, or, a clip of 15 seconds. But in our own minds, what we tell ourselves is, I'm giving people too much stuff. And the reality of it is, if I'm trying to extend myself to people, 15 seconds could never be enough. I'm so gigantic. I'm so big. You are so gigantic. But the thing is, we're thinking it as ourselves as that way, but we're not giving that to people. And we're putting that limitation on who we are, and giving ourselves to people and seeing it as something completely different. Go ahead, Jay.
Man, that's real. That's so real. And like you said, it is only owed to us. So check this out. There's a singer that I follow. I'm sure y'all heard her song in Eco. I think that's how you pronounce it. She has a song, "I will be one of the greatest."
I'm from outer space.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, she always posts that song like all the time in its different iterations. So I know she got to be tired of it. Well, maybe she isn't, which I shouldn't say that. But it's just funny. Like, sometimes when I'm putting out songs, I'm like, man, did I put this song out too much? Am I putting it too much in people's face? But it's no such thing. Like, you are you have what you have to give, and you should give it. And I'm talking to myself here. I'm looking at myself as I'm saying this. So yeah, appreciate that.
No. Again, back to the point that we were making on that video, like, if you did create a plan that's not working, or it didn't work in the past, right? And maybe, first of all, maybe it's how you were looking at it. And when I think about what we're talking about now and reframing our thinking about it, is like, at that moment, we may have been resistant. Maybe we had these blocks up that stopped us from holistically being us. And then, just to the point that we're making about, in a sense, flooding the market or the stuff that we watch. Literally, if you're on social media, you watch the same things over and over again. You yourself, like, the social media algorithm gives you what you want. It gives you what you want only. And so, like, there's this one comedian named Matt Rife, right? One day I looked at his video and, I liked it. I was like, okay, this is tight. And then I shared it with a friend. So the next day, another Matt Rife video came up, and I looked at that too. And I was like, okay, he's funny. And then next thing I know, I started getting all of these Matt Rife videos, and I will watch them all. The reality of it is, I wanted to see who he was for the time that I was watching him. And when it comes to being you, it's the same rule applies. The people that don't want to see it, don't watch it. Or outside of social media, the people that don't want to be around you are not around you. Or the companies that you're trying to market to, they don't pay attention to you. But the thing that you do when you shortchange yourself is if you don't give it, the people that do want to get to see it or be involved or take part in don't have a chance to, and you don't have a chance to capitalize on that in a sense. Go ahead, Jay.
All right, so basically, I guess the takeaway from this is one: you be purposeful in what you do, and stick to that for the purpose that you intended it, but not anything further.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if you evolving the purpose, right? Because like you said, if our purpose was to get on radio, but down the line, as we're approaching that, we say, you know what, we want to get on radio and do this, then we reevaluate based off of what we added, and then we move accordingly. But yeah, I definitely think that foundation, the way you said it, is definitely it, man.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I love that. So yeah, I think I am in accordance of how we saw it before, but I have not been consciously doing that, and which is the basis of this. Remember, this is why you did this. This is why you're doing this. Keep at it or change if this no longer serves you.
Bro, you don't. I mean, I know the conversation kind of grew as we did it, which is how life is. Yeah. But you don't even know how much I needed to hear it and talk about it. Yeah. So, salute to you for picking that clip, man. And go ahead.
No, I'm with you. Okay. We can roll the next one.
All right, so we got to pull up the next clip, and the next clip was stuck in a decision. Like, I'm even scared to look at it. All right, I better play that mud. We got to quit making like proclamations about things when we know that anybody can be different any given day. Anything can change. And not only that, we change our mind consistently. Like taking the simple things, as an example, like right now I can literally be like, man, I want to eat an apple, right? And I can get up and go to the kitchen and I can see an orange and be like, well, that orange really do look good. It's that simple. But the thing is, we will hold ourselves to things and then make it seem like changing is a problem. Go ahead, fam.
Yeah, man, that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I mean, it's true. It's and I remember thinking about this, how like when we're young, we're pretty much tasked with making the decisions for the rest of our lives. Like what I'm going to major in, what career path I'm going to take, who I'm going to marry, how many kids I'm going to have. But you do this at a very young age when the world just really lets you be an adult. You know what I mean? And
you just hit something with that too. It hit me different because I got kids, right? And I think about me asking my son what he want to be when he grow up, right?
Yeah.
And then him telling me, and then me holding to him to that all the time, right? And when I think about that, it's insanity because there's so much pressure in that. You know what I'm saying? When I really, 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 really think about, like, just one of my son's dreams is to go to the NBA, right? And so all the time I would say to him, well, I'm not the person that want to go to the NBA. You want to go to the NBA, right? And so I put in, I guess, an unnecessary amount of pressure on him, not even using the knowledge that I'm talking about today, knowing that anybody can change their mind anytime.
Yeah.
Right. But then not only that, not realizing that me helping craft his life right now, he can feel like he's in that box and he can't choose anything else. So he won't look at anything else. Yeah. So that was a good point that you just hit, though, straight up.
A lot of times we can feel trapped in what we do is why people don't change, and they wouldn't rather be miserable, but they don't realize that they're being miserable day in, day out because they are so resistant to that change because they don't think it's an option. And it's because of us as the enforcers that say, what, you gonna leave that good job? You gonna waste this opportunity? You gonna do this and that? And it's like, for what?
But see, and that's the thing too, though, right? And that's what makes the thought conflicting. Your soul will be telling you need to go. You know what I'm saying? And you're listening to everybody else.
Yeah.
Though everybody else doesn't. And again, I don't even think that those things that you're talking about are bad. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like when somebody says, you gonna leave that job, that's a good job. Like the reason why I don't say it's bad, because in those moments, those people are comparing themselves to you, right? And again, I'm saying that nobody should do it,
but that doesn't have any bearing on you. You have to know what you want. You have to know that I got to quit looking at what somebody else thinks is good, because what I think is good should be good too.
Man,
I love how these topics are related to the last clip. That wasn't intentional. It just kind of happened that way.
oh shoot! I'll let you kick this one out, but man, that
man. So
crazy, yo.
Yeah, it's a lot of things that were covered in that quick clip. But yeah, okay. So being stuck in a decision, and like, okay, so before we pretty much talked about changing the decision, but this one is like you feel you are locked in and there's nothing you can do. But as you said in the clip, your soul is telling you it's time to move on. It's time to move on. And so you're stuck being miserable, and it's like you have to move on. You can't, like, I'm on the side even today that you just got to jump at that point. Like it's, even though you know not what the future holds, but it's going back on that faith again.
Man, so again, it still, you know how I said it hit me different. It hit me different because I'm a father. Like, it still hit me the same way, even when I heard the words come out of my mouth, bro. But what I will say to the fact is that day or that moment in time changed my mind. It changed my life. I was already geared to thinking the way that I was thinking, which is the reason why it was coming out of my head. But the thing was, ever since then, I know for a fact, when talking to my son, I always open up the door for everything else. I always open up the thought process for everything else. I always try to teach him more outside of just teaching him that. And not only that, I also try to show him how everything also relates, and the same methods that he uses in this area, he can use in other places. And I'm grateful for those moments that we had on there, because again, it wasn't that it's not that I didn't want the best for my kid. Like, no matter, as a parent, you always, whatever your kids are doing or whatever you think that they should do, you just try to make them go the hardest at that. You do that. But just being able to now tell him, like, look, let me explain something to you. It doesn't, I believe that you can do anything that you want to do. And I know that you probably play basketball because you know I love basketball. But guess what? I love a lot of things. I love this, I love that. And not only do I love a lot of things, I think that you could be as equally great at all those other things if you were interested in them too. And I want you to understand that no matter what you choose, and the cool part about it is, I have an 11-year-old and I have a 5-year-old. So because I'm telling my 11-year-old these things now, I'm able to tell I have been telling my 5-year-old, no matter what y'all do, y'all know I love y'all, right? No matter what it is, you know I support you. And the beautiful thing about that and being able to tell people that is that you get to tell yourself that. And this is how you don't get yourself stuck, because you have to be able to tell yourself, you know what, Troy? No matter what tomorrow holds, no matter what you choose or how you choose to roll your life out, I still love you anyway. And you can be as successful for yourself and for your family, regardless of the fact. Dope. Go ahead, Jay.
That's awesome. And man, I can relate, especially on the job end. So I was at a job 14 years where my soul was like, man, you know you're not supposed to be here. And what's crazy is I kind of learned the lesson early on when me and you went to Miami to sell CDs hand to hand. And I know we shared this story a million times on here before, how all day from like maybe 8 a.m. to maybe 2 a.m, we just selling CDs. We only stop to maybe eat, use the bathroom. That's it. And then we sleep, start over again. Talking to everybody. We made a lot of money, but that was both fun and, I don't want to say struggle. Struggle is not the right word. It was challenging. It's both fun and challenging. And the thing that I realized, like, I'd rather be in the gutters, being challenged, sweating, doing what I love, than being in the comfort, doing what I don't love. But even still, after that situation, I still stayed for a lot more years. And it took a while until, like, my soul had to just really scream at me and not give up. I appreciate it for not giving up on me, but just letting me know. And we take a long time to learn lessons that we really already learned, and we should just trust and just listen and just go for it, because that is the universe. That is God talking to us now, saying, "Hey, no, I got this laid out for you. Just do this."
You know what that makes me think? Like, to me, the hardest thing in the world to do is ignore that thing, that's that loud voice in your head. That is so, like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, I'm telling you, bro, if I know that I don't want to drink soda this month, right? And then I see a soda and I'm going to get it, and that voice is telling me, you know, you don't need to drink that soda. You know, like, that mug is excruciating, because if I go and drink that soda, the whole time I'm drinking it, I cannot even enjoy it because I'm thinking about me not, like, that voice is so loud. And so it just leads me to just know that, like, when you hear it, you have to move accordingly, because it's your soul, it's your heart, it's God, it's the universe, it's everything. Like, you know what? I don't even want to talk about the soda, right? We all want to be healthy. We all want to be, you know, successful in our businesses, right? How many times have you been sitting down and said, I want to go do a push-up, or I want to do these sit-ups during the commercial break, or I want to, like, do this thing for my business, right? And the thing is, your mind is just, your heart and your soul, everything in you is crying out for you to do it. And it's easy not to do it, but it's hard to live with. It's hard to live with, man. Go ahead, Jay.
That's the quote of the day. Like, it's easy not to do it, but it's hard to live with. And if that's not the truest statement, like, because you know what you're capable of, and you know what you want for yourself, and you get these reminders at the opportune time. It's not like you get these reminders when you're all the way busy, when you don't have time. Like, no. It's right at the moment when you need this reminder. And yeah, we're like, no, I wasn't ready for it. Shh. Let me just do this today, and then tomorrow I'll be back on it. And that's crazy.
So, like, and for me, man, so it's and then the other part, you know, when we were talking about what you give off to other people or what somebody's giving off to you, even that's not louder than the voice in your head. When you, like you said, when you tell that person, I don't know why you at that job, right? Well, really, you're talking about yourself. Like, I don't know why I'm there, like I said in the clip. But the thing is, those voices, in a lot of sense, don't even matter half the time anyway. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, it's just stuff that you're hearing, because that there have been plenty of times where I've been into it with some people or with somebody, and I know what they're saying, but that voice is still the loudest thing that I hear. And it's mostly about decision making. It's mostly about how I should move in this circumstance. And it's just that, don't allow people, and then we'll turn around and say, well, they had the power. They told me not to do this, when you weren't listening to them in the first place. Like, own your power. Go ahead, Jay.
And the funny thing though about those people are, like, in a way they are doing us a service by showing us if we really want what we say. Because once we make that step forward, they're the first ones to say, like, man, that's a good thing. I'm glad you did that. I knew you could do it. Like, I always knew you could. Like, it's, but they're not saying it in a malicious way. They're not saying it that, like, they really don't know that that's how they felt at that time. But it wasn't meant for them to feel like that way. They had to show us that other way to see if we really wanted to move forward in the way that we said we really want to move forward.
So just to touch on what you just said too, and again, it just goes to show the way that our minds work, right? Like, who is against you that's in your life? Like, for real. Like, who do you have in your life that you're listening to that really is against you? Like, you got to really think about that and understand that no matter what someone is saying, like, first of all, there are some people that may not be for Troy, right? But the thing is, I don't know what they're saying about me. Now, there are people that are in my life that say things that I'm not, that I'm opposed to, and I can interpret that as them being against me. But again, the reality of it is, you have two things that can happen. Like you said, one of them is a challenge for you to realize Do I really like how much resistance do I have for this? Do I really want to do what I'm saying I want to do? Is this really something for me? But the other piece to that is like for you to get out of your head that everybody has to think like you. Like, because if you can get outside of the thought process that everybody thinks like me, then you can also, even when somebody's in what you might consider opposition, you can learn from it. Because sometimes their idea might not be your idea, but you're able to take a piece from it and add that to what you're doing. But when you're so resistant and you have the mindset that people are opposition to me or opposed to me or against me, then you have nothing to gain from them because you will shut it completely out. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and it's in my song "Forgiveness." What you said is kind of like I'm gonna mess up my own lyric, but it was like you see that there's no hate at all. They're just showing you to use so that you can evolve. Like they're just showing you the type of you should be in order to evolve. So it's like they're not hating; they're just holding you to the standard that you yourself said you would hold yourself to, and when we're not ready for it, we might take it as hate. We might take it as, yeah, they're against me, but like, no. Based on who you are, based on the face that you're showing the world, based on the you that's going for these evolvements, people are just reminding you of that so that you can step into that in the right way. And once you do, they will be your biggest supporters.
And I'm gonna say this about myself, and this is a shout out to anybody that's in my life that I have given you some advice because of the face that I feel like you're showing. And it might not necessarily be the face that you're showing, but it might be the way that you're moving. And I'm gonna shout out, my sister as an example of one person, not trying to embarrass her or anything, but my sister is phenomenal when it comes to social media marketing. So much so that she continuously has big companies hire her to manage her social media, right? And so in my mind, from this where I'm sitting at, I'm looking at it as like they're hiring you to promote, like you're doing all of this stuff for these people. Why don't you just step away from it and do it for yourself and then contract for these people so that way you can be your own business. Now, a part of this is me being an entrepreneur and the way that I see things, but also me framing what I see what I feel like you're capable of. Not to put more pressure on you, but just to show that you're doing this anyway. You're successful and capable anyway. And it might not even be the way that you want to go. You may feel more comfortable doing that. And that's kind of how what we're talking about when somebody's telling you to leave a job or somebody's telling you to do something. Only thing that I can see are the highlights. The things that you share with me are, look at how many people responded to me because I did this for these people. Well, not look how many people responded to them. And so what we do is we make our own highlight reel of people, just like they make a highlight reel of us. And again, it's only these 15-minute clips, these 1-minute showings, all of these different things, and it's all tied to us. So when somebody tries to uplift you in the way that they see fit, doesn't necessarily mean it's right. You got to still listen to what's in your heart, but that doesn't mean that I'm in opposition to what you're doing. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you said that highlight reel, because it's true. Like it's both on social media. We only see seconds of people of the self that they choose to show on social media. And then, but even in person, the people that we know, we only see the snippets of the people that they choose to show us, unless they live in the house with us and we see them 24/7. But usually in most cases, you just get those snapshots. And it's cool too, because like when you're around somebody, you don't necessarily always see the change. It just happens because you're a part of it. But then like if there's some breaks, you're like, oh, I can see you've evolved, or not evolved, but just changed in some way. So it's just interesting.
And one point before we go to the last clip, that also works the other way as well. So if every time I see you, you tell me that you're unhappy about something, 15-minute clip, 1-minute clip, every time I talk to you, I'm going to tell you, you need to leave that alone. That's just, and again, you actually might be happy. You actually might be in love with the thing that you're doing. But if you give me the clips, my highlight reel says something different than what life truly is, I'm going to respond accordingly. Go ahead, Jay.
Before we go to the clip, like, man, like, and that's so true, because how do I word this? People only ask of us what they think we're capable of, right? And so again, it's not necessarily an insult. So, sometimes people get mad when people ask them for money. Like, nah, they're saying, look, you are successful to me.
Yeah,
I think
right.
you have money. Can I borrow some money?
Real talk, though.
But we see it as they always asking for money every time they see me, but we're missing that successful part that they see us in that light. And that's not saying you have to give them money, but if you have it and you can, then go ahead. But if not, don't worry about it. But the point is, people aren't necessarily trying to use you. They're just showing you who you showed them you are, and which is cool.
Real talk. So I know we got to get to this last clip though, but that again today, and you did this, bro. That's why I'm gonna give you a shout out, man, because it was definitely needed for me to even revisit these conversations and approach it. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to you.
But again, before we jump to the next clip, so what would be the takeaway from this?
My takeaway would be, see things for what they are. Listen to that voice. Listen to your heart, and don't allow all the outside factors be louder than it, because it can't anyway. But if you give it the power, then of course you can end up being stuck somewhere that you don't want to be, or stuck in a situation. See it for what it is. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I love it. I'm the same way. Listen to that inner voice. Follow your joy, as we always say. Shout out to Bashar. At every moment.
Yeah, man. So this next clip, and it was season 3. And if I didn't say last one was season 2, season 3, it says forgot the big picture, or forgot big picture. So let's see what we said about forgot big picture. Focusing on the next step has always been ideal. But the problem is that I focus on the next step of the next thing, right? Because for some reason, there is an energy in a new idea, right? There's an energy that you get when you have a new plan in place, and it's all the anticipation of getting to the end. Like, so we're working on perfect mode, but guess what? My friend have an idea to go and get some vending machines, and if we all put our money in, then we're gonna be able to do this. And so, where I'm not forgetting about perfect mode, there's a next step of a new process that I can create too. And so the thing that I asked myself was, why do I not have the same energy for the next step of the current process, and allow that energy to go to the next big thing? But go ahead, fam.
Yeah, and to that, I mean, you touched on it when you talked about skipping steps, because we can get so caught up in the whole process. Like, we can make a list of everything we need to do from now to get to that goal. And we start out with the energy, but once we see all the steps, we like, I don't know if I want to do all this, or at least I'm not going to do it today, maybe tomorrow. And then that day becomes the next day and the next day. And these steps, I don't know, they just sit there for a while until you find another way or easier way. But when you're only focused on the next step, you just see one thing. And when you see one thing, you're like, I can do one thing. That's only one thing. And I even made it easier. So let's say, like, what's the goal? Let's just say you want to make $1 trillion, right? And you say, I don't know how to make $1 trillion. To make $1 trillion, I need to, study some trillionaires, if there are some.
Yeah.
So okay, how do I study trillionaires? The next step is to Google it, and just make sure you do that before you figure out what the next step is, and write that down. And again, you don't have to do it every day. You can just review your next step every day, and if you can do it that day, then do it.
And so you have to tell me if you're this way, right? And that's the reason why I'm trying to break it up, because for somebody like me that's a productive minded person, as long as I'm continuously, and I don't want to say grinding, as long as I'm continuously moving forward in some kind of way, I can't even see that I'm not focused on the next step. You get what I'm saying? Like, if I'm working on perfect mode, and then we start working on, first, and then we start working on this, I feel like I feel like on the inside, okay, I am moving forward. So it's the next step. But because I'm so spread out, I don't realize that I'm not taking the next step on what I feel like is the most important thing right now. Man.
Yeah.
Man.
We forget the big picture, because we're going to one step on this, another step on that, but we forgot the purpose. Again, while we were doing the thing, even in the first place, we get so caught up in the I don't know, just this the ladder of it that we forget where the ladder leads.
Man, Jay, I have 1,000 words, but no words because I'm just appalled. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why is because though I know that I'm better at that now, I know that is a stickler in my life, in just real life. You know what I'm saying? And this is the analogy that came to my head when I was listening back to it is like somebody that's done crack or heroin or something, right? They say once they hit it the first time, every time after that, they're trying to get the same high that they have the first time. And what ends up happening over time is, of course, everything happens to their body. Their body deteriorates, and then they're no longer here because they've been chasing that very first high that they had the very first time. And so how that relates to me is when I was talking about the new idea, it's like, okay, I started perfect mode, right? And when we first started talking about it, it's like, man, we finna do this, and crunk, blah, 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 right? We excited about it. It's that startup energy. It's just like, it's nothing like it. And then we start going, and then, okay, now perfect mode is going. The very next step in perfect mode is, how can we get this thing syndicated, as an example, right? And so syndication seems like that's a lot. I don't know about that syndication stuff right now, but guess what? I'm gonna work on syndication, but guess what? Every child wins. We just got a text message. I mean, the email the other day, and like, man, I got some ideas for this thing, dog. I can make this. Like, I already got a song ready for them. Like, I know that I can do this much, and so now I'm working on syndication, but I got to get this song ready. Made the song. Man, this song is jamming. Let me get it to them. Now I got to wait for them. But in the meantime, I could be making another song. But I mean, I really want to wait for them to get this mug. And then next thing I know, like in real estate, boy, I just got my broker's license. I'm about to. And so what happens is, bro, like I want that same energy. Like, and I'm telling you, I live this today to this point. And this was a check. This was a checkmate on me right now, dog. Because the reality of it is, man, it's not to say that I also can't spread myself that thin either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even want to call it spreading myself thin. But the idea here is the same way I felt about starting perfect mode. Why can't I feel the same way about syndication? Why can't I be as excited about it? Go ahead, Jay. You can say something.
So I don't want to say torn, but I see both sides of this, right? So on one instance, it does make things a lot easier when you just look at the next step, but next to the big picture. Like you see what the big picture is, and this is just the next step in it. So you're seeing both, you have both in mind. Yet on the other hand, which I've been experiencing too from following my joy, is kind of like how you described, where it's like, oh snap, this happened, let's do this. Oh, this happened, and then the other company, something comes back to this, and you jump to that, and you're doing all of these things, and then the beauty of following your joy, listening to your heart, listening to your soul, they all start to connect. Like you don't necessarily see the connection unless you're still dwelling on what you're not doing instead of what you are doing. But you still, if joy is the most important thing, then that should be what you follow, even if it's not necessarily with the big picture, unless the big picture is joy. And then it's like, well, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Because business and joy, it should mix, but it doesn't always mix. But luckily, I guess to this point, this weekend, I happen to be in one of these weekends where I'm getting a lot done, and I'm excited about it. So but last week I came on here, I was like, I didn't do nothing this weekend, and I'm excited about it. So it's just funny how it all works out.
So I'm gonna tell you. So now, and so I'm torn in this too, right? And I'm gonna tell you the reason why. So number one, the key here is you hit it. You hit the nail on the head. We are supposed to follow joy. Like we're supposed to follow our happiness. And I would never tell anybody else anything differently, right? But what I will also say, in addition to that, is sometimes you're not allowing yourself to see where joy could be, right? And so what I mean by that is like, I was so excited about starting perfect mode. Once I started it, so okay, let me come back, right? I was excited about starting it because of the potential that it provided, right? Now, I still am excited about the potential that it can provide, but because there's a step that I don't want to see that there can be joy in, I never allow that to materialize. I never allow it to happen because before I even take a step, I've deemed it as hard. I've deemed it as more work. Now, again, it's not to say that creating perfect mode was any more difficult than getting syndicated, but somewhere along in my life, I've deemed that something beyond me, and so that's where I am torn because the reality of it is I know that I never gave it a chance. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I love how you phrase that because I'm thinking of some things that I've done where like I didn't know how I was gonna do it. It's probably a hard thing, but I never saw it as that. And like I remember in high school when I made my first beat, like when I made my first real beat, or even started making beats. Like I happened to get invited to a studio. That's the universe, being helpful. And I learned a lot in that studio session that I could then apply to my own and start to get my own equipment and start learning these things. And there's so many people that might want to make beats, but they have no idea how to get started. And the trick is like you just start, but you don't think that it's hard. You don't allow yourself to think that it's hard. You just like, oh, this is fun. I can do this. I can figure this out. And now that I hear myself saying this, it's like, why don't you do this with everything? And so yeah.
And so I rewind the clock back, right? So we just went through season 1, season 2, and season 3 episodes, just kind of revisiting. But imagine somebody came to us 4 years ago and said, hey, y'all got to do 4 years of perfect modes every Sunday, and I'm only going to let y'all miss 2 Sundays. The energy that which we had when we started may have been dissipated because we would have already thought to ourselves that I don't know about all that. And so that's why I find myself being hit in my head again now because I hate to deem things more difficult or I'm any less capable of completing them and stealing my own joy away, right? Like I'm going to chase some more joy. And again, I'm supposed to go to what's going to make me joyish, whatever the word is, joy. Bring me joy, right? But the thing is, I never give myself the opportunity because of my thought process, man. And that just hit me. And so now it's making me think about the things that I'm doing now and saying, hey, have you really, really looked at this and seen where there is love and there's joy in it for you, so that way you can have that same energy. So that way it doesn't seem hard. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and I want to touch on something related you touched on. Like, again, like if somebody told us you got to make 4 years of perfect mode straight, or 3 years because we're in the 4th year, I don't think I would be down for that. Like every Sunday you got to do this, but this has been the most fun thing. But we're not looking at it in the forward view. We're looking at it right now. We're being here now. And so, like I think we talked. I don't know if we said this on the show, but we talked about how just task yourself with just doing that little bit. So actually, like I use me for an example. Every day I said I'm going to write music for 1 minute. 1 minute. Now again, I have not been writing. Like it's been at least a month. I don't think I did any music this month, which is that's unacceptable. So I said I'm going to task myself with 1 minute. Every day that turned into anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours and a half, just for me deciding to do that 1 minute, to just being in the now. And I would extend that to everyone. Something that you want to do, make it so easy that you just can't not do it. Like just do it for a minute, and it's just that joy is gonna take over.
I love it too, because I even want to relate it to exercising. And the only reason I say this is because I know people. I've heard this like during commercial breaks when people are trying to get fit. I'm gonna do some sit-ups or I'm gonna do some push-ups. Like say during the commercial break, I'm only gonna do 1 push-up. Now I know what's gonna happen when you get out to do 1 push-up. You're gonna be like, I can't just do 1 push-up, right? I mean, that's how I would feel anyway. But when you make it that simple, you are right. Life opens up its doors to you to see what you're capable of. And I think that's the key here. And it's the same thing when it comes to keeping that same energy on step 2. Like you have to open up the door for step 2 in the right way. Like I at least can do this, and then allow yourself to see. But if you don't do that, now it's just like I said, when we start talking about the next step of perfect mode, I don't want to open the door. Just talking like I just don't want to open the door. And so now I'm going to do it, but it's going to be like pulling teeth for me to move. Go ahead, Jay.
So in regards to the big picture, remembering the big picture and taking the next step, would you say the takeaway is to just follow that joy, just unapologetically?
Yeah. I would say, I'm going to say follow the joy, but I also would say remember why you did it. Like, remember, like, in a moment, in a spark of energy, something made you move, no matter what it is. Like, nobody says I'm hungry and goes to the kitchen and then don't cook their food or get their food. Like, when you decide to go to the kitchen and you say I'm going to cook something, literally you generally finish that. Like, you don't just stop in the middle of it and be like, well, I guess I'm not hungry no more. Like, because you're going to remember that you're still hungry. So I would just say, like, remember where the energy came from. Remember where the love came from. And then whenever you get to whatever that next step is, remember again. Remember again, because if it's a big picture, that means you still have things to do that's included in it. But you also want to make sure that you have the same love the entire way. You want to make sure you have the same joy the entire way until it's done, until you actually eat your food off your plate. Go ahead, Jay.
This reminds me of our favorite book, The Alchemist. Man. He tells the story of the meeting the wisest man ever. And he went, it was a long line. He waited his turn. He talked to the wise man. He's like, what's the meaning of, I think, was it happiness or something? Yeah. And he said, okay, what I want you to do, I'm going to put 2 drops of oil on the spoon. I want you to walk around the entire house, but don't spill any oil on the spoon. So he did it. He walked around the house. He went up the stairs, went in the halls, all the rooms, came back. And then the guy asked him, he's like, oh, good. You didn't drop the oil. He's like, no. He said, did you see the beautiful craftsmanship and the chandelier and the marble stone and all this? And he's like, nah, I didn't see none of that. And he's like, well, go back. And he made sure that he got the 2 drops of oil. And he said, go back around and do it again. So he did it, and he came back. And he said, did you see everything? He was like, yeah, I saw it. It was great. They had people over here. And he said, but where's your oil? And he's like, I must have dropped it. He said, happiness is seeing all the wonders of the world, but never forgetting about your drops of oil. I just thought that was so cool.
Man, yeah. I love that book, bro.
Yeah.
and listen, to the point that we were making early in the show, when we were saying, like, there's no such thing as oversharing, I can listen to that story 1,000,000 times and I'd never get tired of it. Yeah. Right? Same. And so, that's just to drive that point home. Like, we only see highlights of people and they only see highlights of us, man. Yeah. So share yourself, share your life. That's what perfect mode is about. We're sharing who we are so that way everybody can understand that you are perfect. And the only way you're not thinking that you're that way is if you're looking at somebody else. But you have to understand that you being you is everything. You sharing your life, the tidbits that we get, we're already intrigued. That's the reason why we're connected with you, whether it's social media or in person. The reason why we have the relationships is because I get to have a relationship with the person that you are, not anybody else. Because if I wanted somebody else, I would just go to them. So, like, share who you are, be who you are. Let that be your highlight reel all time and share it as much as you want to, because you can never overshare, man. And Jay, I know we're at the end of the show, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and take us out, bro. Go ahead.
Well, before we take us out, because I know you might have something to say on this. So again, this is the 4th season, and we want to try something different. So we say at the start of every month, we want to make the topics viewer choice, because we always talk about where we are. We always talk about what we want to talk about, but why not talk about what you would like us to talk about? Because again, we don't come from the perspective that we're experts. We want to just talk it out. We want to get to the truth of the matter. So we might have that in us, we might not, but it's a conversation that allows the truth to come out. So let us know, like comment on the page. We'll probably put like a post on all of the pages for you to just reach out to us and let us know what you would like us to talk about for the next episode. And you want to say something about that?
Yeah, and I would say that you sharing what you want us to talk about is another example of you sharing who you are, what you're concerned about, and that allows us to grow too. Like, you know, we get to experience life as it happens, and so that means things that come up, you know, it helps us open up our own doors, and that's what we want. You know, we want to happen. So yeah, you can go. Oh, you want to read that comment real quick?
Oh, go ahead.
Our Wild West says, you men are shining examples of where I want to be and beyond in knowledge and truth. And guess what, man? I say the same thing back to you because I could never be you. And being you is a giant task, bro. And just know that.
Yeah. And so again, appreciate you. Appreciate all y'all. If you found this helpful, hit that share button, like it, all of that. And just remember, your perfect creation made by a perfect creator. So you might as well accept your perfection and enter perfect mode.
If I reminded you that you are perfect, would you argue me down or step into your perfection? Welcome to perfect mode, where there are no excuses, no expectations, and we explore the world without limitations. I'm Jay Clay, rapper, the spiritual teacher, with my co-host Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. Let's be real, so let's be perfect. Perfect. Everything, anything, many things, anything, perfect. Everything, anything, 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 perfect mode. Everything, anything, many things, anything, perfect mode. Everything, anything, 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 perfect mode, 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 everything, anything, 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 perfect mode, perfect mode, everything, anything, 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 perfect mode.
Perfect.